Before we continue with our notes, I would like you to have a whiteboard and a dry erase marker and a calculator. And with those three things, I would like you to set up and solve these 4 problems. What I'm going to have you do, I'm going to have you pause the video, and then when you have all 4 problems solved on your whiteboard, then press play and we can check your answers. So you have done all 4 problems. I'm going to zoom in here to number 1, and we know that side X matches with side 25. Now the beauty of this problem is you can do it a couple different ways. If you wrote X over 25, then you can either match it up with 24 and 15 or with 48 and 30, okay? But I do need you to be consistent with how you set these up. So, since I chose X first and then 25, then if I'm going to use 24 and 15, 24 needs to come first and then 15, okay? You could have also said that this equals you could have chosen these two sides and set it equal to 48 over 30. Now, if you wrote 25 over X, then all of your fractions would be upside down compared to mine. So what we're going to do is we're going to cross multiply. So for this, I have 30 times X equals 25 times 48, which is 1,200. And then when I divide by 30, I get X equals 40. Okay. No matter how you set up the problem, whether it was the same as me, or you used the green sides instead of the pink sides, or you did 25 over X instead of X over 25, no matter how you set it up, everyone should get to X equals 40. All right, now number 2 is an interesting problem because what is true about our 2 rectangles? Okay, one is rotated 90 degrees from the other. So when we go to figure out which side corresponds with X, it is not 12, okay? In the rectangle, we have one side longer than the other. Well, in the smaller rectangle, 18 is that longer side, okay? And 12 and 16 correspond with each other, okay? So either you're going to set up 18 over X equals 12 over 16, or you're going to set up X over 18 equals 16 over 12, okay? In this setup right here, I went small to big, but then in this setup right here, I went big to small, big to small. No matter which one you set up, when you cross multiply, you get 12 times X equals 18 times 16, which is 288. And then when we divide by 12, we get 24. If you think that maybe you messed up on 3 and 4 based on how we just did these problems, maybe pause and go back to those real quick. All right, I like number 3. I think it's pretty straightforward. We can see that the 2 triangles are oriented the same way, so that helps. So X and 3 correspond, and then it doesn't matter what other two sides you pick because they're the same. So we can set up either x over 3 equals 28 over 8, or you can set up 3 over x equals 8 over 28. Okay, in this setup right here, I went from the big to the small, big to the small. Okay, in this setup right here, I went from small to big, small to big. Okay, so no matter which one you have, we can cross multiply. 8 times x equals 28 times 3. And then if we divide by 8, we get 10.5. Okay, and then the last problem was a little sneaky because A, we have 4 sides, B, one of them is rotated a little bit. So let's just talk about first that this mystery side, it corresponds with this side right here. So either you're gonna set up a proportion with 4 over x or a proportion with x over 4, okay? Now, we then have to choose a different side. So maybe you chose 7 and 17.5. Maybe you chose 12 and 30. Or maybe you chose 10 and 25. Okay, so there's a couple different ways to do this. I'm going to go ahead and choose the orange ones, the 10 and the 25. So if I set up 4 over x, where I went 4 over x, so I went small to big, then I would set this equal to 10 over 25. Or maybe you did 7 over 17.5. Maybe you did 12 over 30, okay? If you did the big quadrilateral first, x over 4, then we could have taken 25 over 10, or 17.5 over 7, or 30 over 12. No matter what you do, we should get the same answer. So x times 10 equals 25 times 4. So when we divide by 10, we get x equals 10. Okay, so now we're going to go back to our notes from yesterday. Okay, oops. So yesterday we did this problem right here. Okay, so if you're not there yet, you know what, how about I give you a chance to erase your whiteboards, put all of those materials away, and then get to your notes, and we're going to go to the next page in your notes. I believe, I'm going to guess that this is page 16. If I'm wrong, I'm really sorry. Okay. So let's go ahead and just mark which sides correspond to each other, okay? Maybe you have different colors that you want to use, but I'll show you some ways if you don't have different colors you want to use, okay? So what I notice is that X is the side that goes from the right angle box to the one swoop. So what matches in the other one? Here's the right angle box to the one swoop, okay? All right, I notice that 17 corresponds with, well, that goes from like the 2 swoops to the 1 swoop, so that corresponds with this 12.75 right here, okay? So I'm using different colors, but maybe you don't have different colors, so maybe you want to do, you know, some different ways of notating what matches. Okay, and then 8 corresponds with this side 6 over here. Okay, so we only need 2 sets of sides. For sure, we're going to need our x and our 11.25. Okay, Now, since I grabbed x first and then 11.25, I need to make sure whichever sides I choose, I need to go from this triangle to this triangle. Okay? I have to be consistent. X over 11.25. Let's go ahead and do our green dotted ones, 8 and 6. So if I have x over 11.25, then we need to grab 8 over 6. Okay? So if we cross multiply, we get 6 times x, and we get 8 times 11.25, which is 90. So now let's divide by 6 to get x equals 15. Okay, now in number 8, here again we have multiple sides and our our figures aren't oriented the same. So we need to be really careful about how we choose these. So the most important thing is what corresponds with the side with the x. Okay, what do you think? Did you say 14? Because that would be right. Okay, so those two sides correspond. Now, honestly, we have 3 other sides, but we really only need to worry about one. Okay, so if I put a squiggle on the side with the 15, what does that correspond with? The 10 or the 18? Okay, what I notice is that the 15 connects the side with the right triangle box and the one swoop. So over here, right triangle or right angle box and one swoop, it looks like it corresponds with the 10. Okay, so if I write 14 over x, if I write 14 over x, then I have to grab 10 over 15. Okay, so if we cross multiply, we have 10 times x equals 14 times 15. So now to get x by itself, we need to divide by 10. Okay. Last one. How does that sound? So in number 9, we need to be very, very careful with this one. Okay. So let's go ahead and talk about x and talk about which side from the other triangle corresponds to x. Notice how we go from the 3 swoops to the 1 swoop. In this second triangle over here, where does that happen? 3 swoops to 1 swoop. It looks like that happens right here. So my side 24 corresponds with x. And then it looks like this side with a 28 corresponds to this side with the 21. So if I'm going to make a proportion, and if I choose x over 24, then I would also need to choose, so if I choose x over 24, then I would need to choose which one to be first. 28 over 21. Okay, so when we cross multiply, we have 21 times x equals 24 times 28. $672. So now to get this x by itself, we need to divide by 21, and our answer is 32. Okay. So what I need from you is if you turn the page to page 17, your job is to do problems 8 through 11. I have the answers posted on Google Classroom, so you can check your answers as you go. Okay? Good luck.